Hello, my name's Chris Bryant and I'm the author of The Glamour Boys, the secret story of the rebels who fought for Britain to defeat Hitler. It's the true story of a group of gay or bisexual MPs, mostly conservative, who at the beginning of the 1930s visited Germany a great deal because Germany was the most liberal place in the world for homosexuality. There were lots of gay bars, you could have sex with impunity, and there was plenty of fun to be had. Unlike the United Kingdom, where the law was extremely strict, you could be arrested for a series of different offences, you could be convicted on the basis of next to no evidence, and you could be sent to prison for up to 2 years with hard labour and whipping. These men got to know some of the early gay Nazis, but when Hitler bumped off all the gay Nazis in 1934 in the Night of the Long Knives and started sending Jews, political opponents and homosexuals off to the concentration camps, this group, recognising the danger of fascism and Nazism, became the most vociferous opponents of Hitler in the UK and determined opponents of the policy of appeasement. This inevitably brought them into conflict with Neville Chamberlain, who became Prime Minister in 1937, who was resolved upon a policy of bringing Hitler and Mussolini to the negotiating table rather than fighting them, so as to bring about peace. Neville Chamberlain derided them, hated this group of men. He set up a special unit to undermine them. He made sure that their phones were tapped. He purchased a newspaper secretly so as to be able to pump out nasty little stories about them. He got the whips to undermine them in their local constituency so that they were threatened with deselection. But throughout this period, the Glamour Boys met almost weekly. They were determined that they were going to overturn the policy of appeasement so that Britain was ready to fight Hitler. And when war came, many of them enlisted and 4 of them were killed in action. Churchill was so upset by Victor Cazalet's death that he decided that when the chamber of the House of Commons was reconstructed after the war, it would include commemorative plaques to each of the MPs who'd been killed in action. And that included 4 of the men in this book. They're fascinating figures individually. Ronnie Cartland, the younger brother of Barbara Cartland, who was described by several of his friends as flamboyant, made some of the most courageous speeches in the run-up to the war, including accusing Chamberlain of being a dictator himself, and lost his life in the brave defence of Cassel, which was protecting the evacuation at Dunkirk. Rob Bernays, who was a national Liberal MP, but on the government benches and a government minister for part of the time, who was a journalist by trade, visited Germany frequently and started writing very courageous articles about how we needed to deal with Germany way back in 1932, long before anybody else. Victor Cazalet, who during the war ran what was described as the Buggers Battery, or the Monstrous Regiment of Gentlemen, and was a campaigner for a Jewish homeland, partly because he'd seen the horrors of what Hitler was doing to the Jews in Germany. And Jack McNamara, perhaps to use a modern word, perhaps the most out of all of the people in the book, who was MP for Chelmsford. He was an army man originally, had served in India. He had lots of friends in gay artistic circles. And he too led a regiment, the London Irish Rifles. He was colonel during the war. And most of the 1930s, he was effectively living with a married Anglican archdeacon called Herbert Sharp, and supposedly went on sex tours with his researcher, Guy Burgess, who much later was revealed to be a Soviet spy. It was what he saw at Dachau that completely changed his view. So I hope this is a story that is full of bravery, lots of fun, some anguish, some terribly, terribly depressing moments, but above all, a sense that these were men without whom we would never have gone to war, we would never have had Churchill as Prime Minister, and we would certainly never have defeated Hitler and fascism.